SOAPSTone is an acronym that you can use to analyze texts, but you can also use it to help you plan your own essay. SOAPSTone stands for speaker, occasion, audience, purpose, subject, and author's tone. When identifying the speaker, you need to literally identify the speaker's first and last name, but you also need to consider the speaker's age, gender identity, and occupation, because these elements can factor into the speaker's bias or perspective. The second letter, O, refers to occasion, and this can literally be the time, the date, and the location, but also take into consideration the historical context or historical information, and also the exigence, which is the inciting incident or the reason why the speaker feels compelled to speak in the first place. The third letter is A, which represents the audience. First, consider who is the audience. Is it a specific person? Is it a specific demographic, etc.? But also ask yourself, how does the author or speaker demonstrate knowledge of the audience? You can have a fantastic speaker who has no idea who they're speaking to, and the message is going to be lost and ineffective at best. Some things to consider is, how does the author demonstrate knowledge of the audience's religious background or training, the audience's political views, their age, and other items of consideration. Next is P, which stands for purpose, sometimes called author's purpose. You can return to the old acronym of PIDE, which stands for persuade, inform, entertain, explain, describe. Is the author trying to do one of these 5 things? But also ask yourself, what is the author's goal? What is the author's motive? What does the author hope to achieve? The second S represents subject. What is the author talking about? What is your evidence? How do you know this is what the speaker is talking about? Also, look for connections between the subject and the speaker, and the occasion, and the audience, and the purpose. The last part of the acronym spells the word tone, beginning with the letter T. What is the author's tone? A restatement of this question is, what is the author or the speaker's attitude toward the subject? Look for clues in the text that the author employs through his or her craft. What is the author's diction or word choice? How does the author construct the sentences, the syntax? Are there literary devices such as metaphors or anecdotes? And look at the author's use of rhetorical appeals such as ethos, pathos, and logos. Keep in mind that these are just a few examples to get you started. While we primarily think of SOAPSTone as an analysis tool, you can also use it to help you plan your own essays. Let's look at how you can use SOAPSTone to construct an introductory paragraph for a rhetorical analysis essay. This example is a rhetorical analysis of Aldous Huxley's Words and Behavior. Well-known writer Aldous Huxley, in his essay Words and Behavior, warns against the manipulation of language to justify war. Huxley's purpose is to persuade both political leaders and ordinary citizens that inappropriate use of language allows people to deceive themselves and others about the true nature of war. Huxley adopts a sophisticated tone in order to convince his audience of his credibility. Huxley specifically utilizes the tools of deductive reasoning, ambiguity, and connotative diction to illustrate the importance of word choice in impacting human behavior, specifically in times of war. Pause the video and look for instances where this author references the speaker, occasion, audience, purpose, subject, and tone of Aldous Huxley's Words and Behavior. Now let's highlight those areas. The writer acknowledges the speaker in the opening sentence of the introduction. Well-known writer Aldous Huxley. The writer then repeats Huxley's name throughout the introductory paragraph. The occasion is acknowledged when the writer talks about Huxley's essay, Words and Behavior, and also in his references about Huxley writing this piece in reflection upon the ways that language can be manipulated in wartime. The audience is identified as both political leaders and ordinary citizens in times of war. Huxley's purpose is identified as trying to persuade that audience that inappropriate use of language allows people to deceive themselves and others about the true nature of war. The subject is, again, embedded throughout the piece with continued references to language manipulation in wartime. And Huxley's tone is identified as sophisticated in an effort to convince his audience of his credibility. The writer then continues to the thesis, identifying the three author's craft tools that Huxley employs in order to have the largest impact upon his audience, in order to persuade them to see this topic from his point of view. I hope you find SOAPSTone a useful tool in analyzing other people's writing, but also keep in mind that you can use it especially in the introductory paragraph of a rhetorical analysis essay in order to help improve your own writing.